Do you think that Diddy is actually Justin's father?
I wasn't there, but Puff beat up till she got up under the, beat up literally till she tried to run up under the car.
Wow.
Misa Hylton has never been one to shy away from speaking her mind, but her latest move has sent shockwaves through the world of hip-hop and beyond. The woman who once stood by Sean Diddy Combs during his meteoric rise has now become his most vocal critic, as she steps forward in what many are calling a desperate bid to save her son Justin Combs from becoming collateral damage in the crumbling empire of one of music's most controversial figures. And with Diddy currently sitting in a prison cell, facing charges that could keep him behind bars for the rest of his life, the stakes couldn't be higher.
Damn. How your son look like your best friend?
So Diddy's legal troubles have been mounting for years, but the recent federal indictment against him alleging a sprawling conspiracy involving coercion, exploitation, and organized misconduct has brought his house of cards crashing down in spectacular fashion. The charges are damning. Authorities accuse him of orchestrating an elaborate scheme that weaponized his business empire to silence victims and further his own ambitions. The fallout has been swift and brutal, with his properties raided, his assets scrutinized, and his reputation in tatters. But for Misa, this isn't just about the downfall of a once gilded icon. It's about the survival of her son, who has been dragged into the chaos through no fault of his own.
Now, earlier this week, Justin was busted in Beverly Hills for running a red light. Then police discovered he was driving under the influence.
Justin Combs, Diddy's eldest son, and a central figure in his father's public narrative, has found himself entangled in the web of allegations surrounding the disgraced mogul. While Justin hasn't been directly charged with any crimes, his name has surfaced in multiple lawsuits, including those that accuse Diddy of using his family to shield his illicit activities. One lawsuit even claims that Justin was present at events now under investigation, raising questions about whether he might face legal repercussions as the case against Diddy unfolds. For Misa, the possibility that her son could be implicated in his father's crimes is a nightmare she refuses to let become reality.
Now, Misa went into full mama bear mode and tore Diddy up on the internet, claiming that Diddy's act bad lifestyle is leading their son down the wrong path.
The tension between Misa and Diddy has been simmering for years, but Justin's recent troubles have brought it to a boil. Earlier last year, Justin was arrested for a DUI near Beverly Hills, a moment that, for Misa, symbolized everything she believes is wrong with Diddy's influence. She publicly lambasted her ex, accusing him of setting a toxic example for their son and prioritizing his own excesses over his responsibilities as a father. But the DUI was just the tip of the iceberg. Misa's frustrations run far deeper, rooted in what she sees as Diddy's long history of using those around him, including his own children, as pawns in his relentless pursuit of power and wealth.
Misa claims she's not protecting Diddy anymore. She didn't go into detail on what she meant, but she vowed to protect all of Diddy's children from his karma.
And now, with Diddy behind bars and prosecutors digging into every corner of his empire, Misa has made a decision that could change everything. She's turning against him. Sources close to the situation suggest that Misa has been cooperating with investigators, providing them with information that could strengthen their case against Diddy. It's a move that some see as betrayal, but for Misa, it's a necessary act of self-preservation. Her priority is clear: protect Justin at all costs, even if it means helping to dismantle the empire that Diddy spent decades building. Her motivations aren't just personal, they're strategic. By stepping forward, Misa is sending a message to prosecutors: Justin isn't part of this. She's drawing a line in the sand, distancing her son from his father's alleged crimes and painting him as a victim of circumstance rather than an accomplice. But in doing so, she's also exposing herself to the full force of Diddy's defenders, who have already begun to accuse her of opportunism and deceit. It's a high-stakes gamble, one that could either secure Justin's future or drag them both deeper into the storm. The backdrop to all of this is the growing speculation about Justin's true parentage, a rumor that has gained renewed traction in the wake of Diddy's arrest. Whispers that Justin might not actually be Diddy's biological son, but rather the child of Diddy's late bodyguard, Anthony "Wolf" Jones, have resurfaced with a vengeance. The resemblance between Justin and Wolf is undeniable, and former insiders like Gene Deal have hinted at the possibility in cryptic public statements. For Misa, these rumors are both a distraction and a weapon, something she could potentially use to further distance Justin from Diddy's legal troubles, but also a painful reminder of the complexities that have always defined their family dynamic.
I'm like, he's the oddball. And I know they got different moms, so I get it.
Right.
But I'm like, I don't know about that one.
Diddy's fall from grace has been nothing short of catastrophic, and the ripple effects are being felt across the industry. His indictment has opened the floodgates, with former associates, employees, and even family members reportedly coming forward to share what they know. The allegations paint a picture of a man who used his wealth and influence to create a culture of silence and complicity, one that allowed him to operate with impunity for years. But as the walls close in, it's clear that the people who once stood by him are no longer willing to protect him. Misa's decision to turn against Diddy is as much about survival as it is about justice. She knows that the legal system is unforgiving, especially when it comes to high-profile cases like this one. By aligning herself with prosecutors, she's hoping to shield Justin from the fallout and ensure that he isn't swept up in the tidal wave of accusations that have engulfed his father. But in doing so, she's also putting herself in the line of fire, risking not only her reputation but her safety. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the outcome is anything but certain. What's clear, however, is that this isn't just a family drama, it's a reckoning. Diddy's empire, once a symbol of success and influence, is now a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power. And as Misa steps into the spotlight to fight for her son, she's exposing the cracks in the facade, forcing the world to confront the darker truths that have long been hidden behind the glitz and glamour. This is a battle for more than just Justin's future. It's a battle for redemption, for accountability, and for the chance to break free from a legacy that has become a prison of its own.
But she was only on the stand for about 30 minutes, and the big takeaway is this story that she tells regarding the email she got from her daughter in December of 2011. This is where Cassie Ventura writes her mother and another person explaining or expressing that Sean Puffy Combs, she said, threatened to put out explicit videos of her. Again, this is around the holiday time, and also saying that he would do something to the person that she was.
And yet, the deeper you dig into Diddy's empire, the clearer it becomes that this isn't just about one man's misdeeds. It's about a culture of control that has been meticulously maintained for decades. The allegations against him aren't isolated incidents. They're threads in a much larger tapestry of manipulation, secrecy, and unchecked ambition. Cassie's lawsuit was only the first domino to fall. And with each passing day, more stories are emerging from the shadows, painting a picture of a man who stopped at nothing to maintain his power. Let's talk about the freak-offs, the infamous events that have become a focal point of the allegations. Witnesses have described them as orchestrated gatherings hosted under the guise of lavish parties, but carrying far darker undertones. These weren't just about indulgence. They were about leverage. Attendees reportedly included high-profile performers, industry insiders, and even those just desperate enough to make an impression on a man who held the keys to their careers. And the most shocking part? The claims that these events were designed not just for Diddy's gratification, but as a way to control and silence those who participated. If the whispers are to be believed, recordings were made, secrets were kept, and those secrets became weapons.
So this is when the mother is talking to the jurors, talking to the court, and saying that this was the first time the mom says she realized that her daughter had any issues with possible physical abuse. And in this case, her daughter saying that Sean Combs was going to put these explicit videos.
But the scale of these alleged gatherings goes beyond anything the public could have imagined. According to court filings and anonymous former employees, these events weren't just exclusive parties. They were meticulously planned operations. Multiple victims have come forward, describing how they were lured in with promises of career advancement or invitations to network with powerful figures in the industry. Once inside, they were subjected to coercive behavior, their every move monitored by a team of handlers. One individual, who has chosen to remain anonymous, said she was barely out of college when she attended one of these events, thinking it was an opportunity to showcase her talents. Instead, she left shattered, claiming she was manipulated into signing non-disclosure agreements that silenced her for years. What's even more disturbing is the level of organization allegedly involved. Some lawsuits suggest there was a clear hierarchy at these events, with specific individuals tasked with maintaining control and ensuring compliance. Security personnel, assistants, and even high-profile collaborators were allegedly complicit, creating an ecosystem where victims felt trapped and powerless. These weren't just one-off incidents, they were part of a broader system, one that some insiders described as institutionalized exploitation. And while Diddy is the name at the center of these allegations, the growing number of testimonies suggests he wasn't acting alone. The question now is, how deep does this go, and who else might be implicated?
So her mother said that Sean Combs said that he wanted $20,000 because of money that he spent on Ventura. So the mother and her husband took out a $20,000 home equity loan, transferred that money into a checking account, and then sent it to Combs.
One of the most shocking details to emerge is the claim that some of these events were recorded, allegedly without the consent of those involved. Victims have described the fear of knowing their private moments were captured on film, with some claiming these recordings were used as leverage to ensure their silence. In one particularly harrowing account, a former employee alleged that she stumbled upon a stash of tapes while working at one of Diddy's properties. He described the contents as disturbing and claimed that when she tried to raise her concerns, she was immediately dismissed and threatened. These allegations, if proven true, could open the floodgates for even more lawsuits and criminal charges, as the existence of such recordings would be a damning confirmation of the victims' stories. The lawsuits also highlight a pattern of targeting young and vulnerable individuals, people who were new to the industry and unaware of the risks. One victim, whose lawsuit was filed under a pseudonym, described how she was approached by a talent scout claiming to work for Diddy. She was invited to what was described as a music industry mentorship weekend, only to find herself in a situation far removed from what she expected. Her experience, which she detailed in court documents, has become emblematic of a larger issue: the exploitation of power imbalances in an industry that thrives on ambition and desperation. These stories are not just about Diddy, they're about a system that enables predators to operate unchecked.
Prosecution, I believe, was trying to show that level of control that they talked about at the very beginning of this case. And then to see that her family talks about being intimidated and fearing for Cassie's safety. And that's why they sent the money, they said, because they were really concerned. We also learned that the mother's the one who said, you know what, I want to take pictures of this abuse. Again, the mom said she did not know about that.
And then there's the chilling revelation that some victims attempted to come forward years ago, but were silenced through settlements and intimidation. One woman, who worked as a stylist for Diddy in the early 2000s, claimed she was pressured into signing non-disclosure agreements after threatening to expose what she called a toxic and abusive environment. She described being followed, receiving anonymous threats, and ultimately being blacklisted from the industry. Her story mirrors those of others who have since come forward, painting a picture of a calculated effort to suppress the truth. It raises an uncomfortable question. How many more voices have been silenced, and how many more stories remain untold? But the allegations don't stop at the freak-offs. Court documents and insider accounts suggest that Diddy's business dealings were just as calculated, just as ruthless. Former employees have come forward describing a workplace culture that blurred the lines between personal loyalty and professional obligation. Contracts were allegedly leveraged to keep people in line, with clauses so airtight they may as well have been shackles. And then there's the money. Profits funneled into ventures that seemed more about maintaining an image than building a future. It's an empire built on fear, and now that fear is starting to crack.
Says that he had his son bring girls over to the parties, usually underage girls.
And who's been left holding the bag? Justin Combs, the son who, by all appearances, was groomed to follow in his father's footsteps. But as more details emerge, it's becoming clear that Justin wasn't just a part of Diddy's narrative, he was a piece of the puzzle. Some lawsuits allege that he was present during key events now under investigation, his name appearing in the background of stories that are anything but innocent. For years, he was a fixture in Diddy's public life, a walking symbol of his father's success. But now, that connection is looking more like a liability, and Misa Hylton knows it. Misa's decision to turn against Diddy wasn't just a reaction to Justin's recent troubles, it was a calculated move. She's seen the playbook, lived it, and now she's using it to protect her son. By cooperating with investigators, she's not just distancing Justin from his father's alleged crimes, she's flipping the script. It's no longer about Diddy's legacy, it's about Justin's future. And in doing so, she's shining a spotlight on the very mechanisms that have kept Diddy untouchable for so long.
Well, listen, when you're working, and this guy worked for Diddy, worked with Diddy, for Diddy,
Yeah, he was his a producer.
But the fallout isn't just personal, it's seismic. Diddy's indictment has sent shockwaves through the music industry, exposing a network of complicity that stretches far beyond his immediate circle. Executives, collaborators, even former friends are scrambling to distance themselves, their silence speaking volumes. Suge Knight, never one to mince words, has already hinted that Diddy's downfall is part of a larger pattern, a house of cards built on decades of backroom deals and whispered agreements. And he's not alone. Insiders are starting to talk, and the picture they're painting is one of an industry that has long prioritized profit over accountability. The silence from Diddy's peers is deafening. Figures like Jay-Z and Dr. Dre, who have built their own empires alongside Diddy, have remained notably quiet as the allegations mount. It's a stark contrast to the camaraderie they once displayed, a reminder that in this industry, loyalty only goes so far. And then there's the question of who else knew. Because if these allegations are true, it's hard to believe that Diddy acted alone. The whispers about executives like Clive Davis and Jimmy Iovine suggest a much larger web of influence, one that may be impossible to untangle.
So there's that part. And then when you're talking about Diddy, you have all the other stuff that we've been hearing for years.
And yet, for all the noise, there's an eerie sense of inevitability about Diddy's downfall. This is a man who has spent his entire career controlling the narrative, using his charisma and influence to deflect criticism and maintain his position at the top. But now, that control is slipping. The lawsuits, the testimonies, the investigations, they're all chipping away at the facade, revealing a man who may have built his empire on foundations far shakier than anyone realized. The question now isn't whether Diddy's empire will collapse, it's how far the damage will spread. Will the revelations stop with him, or will they pull others into the spotlight? And what does this mean for the industry that enabled him? For Misa, the answers may not matter. Her focus is on Justin, on ensuring that he emerges from this with his future intact. But for the rest of us, the implications are staggering. And this isn't just about Diddy, it's about the culture that allowed him to thrive.
Drika, how would you describe Cassie's demeanor when she took the stand today?
When she walked in there, Rachel, she had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact.
So what's next? Will Misa's gamble pay off, or will it drag her and Justin even deeper into the chaos? And how many more secrets are waiting to be uncovered? One thing's for sure, this story is far from over. Let us know what you think down below, and we'll see you in the next one.